Hi, I'm Brendon McDermott, and I'm the Chief Executive of Focus Technology Group, and I'm back. This is Season 3 of the Digital Roast podcast. And if you remember back to Season 1, we talked about AI and productivity. Season 2, I introduced Renee Dodds, and she hosted the sessions on enterprise resource planning, or ERP. And now we're bringing you 4 episodes around cybersecurity. That's a really important topic that we really need to get our head around. And today we're going to start with a bit of 101 and also tell you what you really need to know when it comes to cybersecurity or resilience when it comes to cyber. And someone that we no introduction really is needed, Stephen Wilcox.
How are you, Brendon?
Very good. The reason I say that is, Stephen, you've been around technology for a long time, and as I suppose Focus's cybersecurity expert, you would have seen a huge amount happen over many years.
Many years. In fact, 50 years next February I've been in the industry.
Wow.
And I've seen quite a bit of change, but it's interesting the tact of security and how it affects businesses and IT hasn't changed from the basics over that time. It's just got more complex and faster in the way that it's happening, and businesses are having to react to it.
And I think it's a great place for us to go during the episode is how do we react to it more quickly? What is happening within cybersecurity, and what can we do to help make ourselves more resilient and prevent what can be catastrophic when it comes to businesses and the risk?
Well, probably the main change that we're seeing in the last couple of years is businesses are starting to move from a more of a reactive basis to a proactive. Cyber is now not just something that happens to big business. It happens to anyone out there, from homeowners through to very small business, because they've all got assets, they've all got IP, intellectual property, they've all got money that these terrorists and hackers can get access to. So instead of reacting after the horses bolted out of the gate, we're actually trying to keep the horses contained and get all the right processes and tools and training in place to make a business more resilient.
And I think it's a really important topic. There's a whole lot of risk within business, health and safety. We've had COVID in the last few years, and cyber is high on that list of most important or biggest risks for businesses, isn't it?
It's number one. If you look at it around the board tables in New Zealand, I guarantee it is number 1 or number 2 on their list of topics, because businesses are now recognising the real risks of cyber and what the bottom line impact is to their businesses and their staff and their customers as well.
So it might be number 1, but are businesses truly taking it seriously enough?
Some are, some aren't. There's still the mentality out there, it won't happen to me. And to be fair, that's more to some of the smaller businesses as well, because they think they're not a target, but the reality is they are. Anyone who has got a digital presence is a target. So they need to take the appropriate measures to make sure they're protected.
I think it's a really good message. A short break in terms of the conversation around, I need to know, this is the digital roast. So what is your coffee roast of choice, Stephen?
Well, I've got pretty basic taste. I like a good old flat white.
Nice.
Can't go past that.
I'm not sure if it's a little less basic, but it's the long black with a dash of cream. And hopefully one day we'll find someone who has the same as me.
Yeah, that's strong for me.
So carrying on the conversation around cyber, you've talked about the mindset sort of needing to shift a little bit, and we need to shift from that into a more proactive mindset rather than just a preventative or reactive. What is happening in terms of what are the different types of attacks that people can get? Because it's not just a virus on your PC anymore, is it?
No, and I guess that's the difference between now and say 10 years ago, when antivirus or AV was the predominant tools out there, because viruses were getting into systems and affecting them. Totally different environment these days, and luckily the tools and the market have moved to address that. So your most common points of attack really are still phishing through the email. That's still probably the number one. And people do it because you get busy and you'll click on the link. Even though you know you shouldn't click on the link, you've actually clicked on it, and then you think about it, oh, shouldn't have done that.
Again, 101, phishing, we're not talking about reels and fish.
No. So phishing's normally an email will come in, it'll say, you need to update your details for your Netflix account. Click on the link below and do it. Now that link will then redirect you to a non-legal site where they'll either collect some details off you that they shouldn't have, or they'll actually infect your device with some malware, so a bit of software that will then start snooping and gathering information.
And I think with AI these days, these phishing emails are getting better and better, and it's hard to pick a proper email from another.
Yeah, the old days, very, very easy to spot because they had either bad grammar, the English wasn't good, or the graphics were pretty rudimentary. With AI now, they can generate an email that looks like it's come from a bona fide company, making it so hard, to actually distinguish the good mail from the bad.
Aside from phishing, which we have heard a lot about, what else is there in terms of threats?
Well, social engineering is still the biggest. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what we do, us as humans, we're the weakest link. So that's anything from getting a phone call from your bank or from someone pretending to be them and giving out information that you shouldn't, that then gives them access to things they shouldn't have. That's the simplest form. But again, we've seen some very elaborate cyber attacks that have been social based. And they're getting very, very good at covering the true intent of what they're doing. These big organisations, you've got to remember, these cyber criminal activity is bigger than drugs globally. So the income from that is bigger than the drug trade. There's no risk in it that there is with the drug trade. So as a result, these big multinational criminal organisations, they have graphic artists, they have psychologists, they have all these teams of professionals on board, and their sole intent is to deceive you and trick you out of your money or your information or other details.
We're not talking about some 16-year-old lad with a few bits of software in their back computer room. This is a full-scale operation. Yeah.
But even on that matter, though, your 16-year-old lad in the back room these days can build a very, very complicated cyber attack with the tools and AI that's available on the internet.
Yeah.
So the sites there, you can actually go and buy attack kits. So you can build your own viruses or your own ransomwares and infect people.
Yeah. So phishing, you talk about malware, supply chain. Is that something that's also we should be aware of?
Very, very much so. I mean, this is, again, it's something that's been around for years, is the people that you deal with, specifically electronically deal with, they've never ever looked in any detail as to how they actually transact the, like your invoicing or your ordering of stock and your supply chains. And again, we've had that many instances over the last few years where an organisation has been ransomwared, they've been attacked, and it's actually been from one of their suppliers because they haven't had basic good cyber hygiene in place.
So it's not just looking at your own business, but those that you deal with, some of your suppliers who you think, actually, this is a legitimate email from one of my suppliers, but they've been affected, so then on, it flows on.
Oh, definitely. And you need to have in place some good process and procedures around how you deal with your suppliers, even to the point of saying they must maintain or prove that they've got basic cyber hygiene in place before you'll actually do any electronic transactions with them. It's just to cover yourself and to cover them as well.
Again, I relate that back to health and safety, how you would, if you're going on to another site for a client, you'd actually ask to see a health and safety plan or something like that. We should be thinking the same way in terms of cyber.
Most definitely, because if you look at a small business isn't so bad. It might only have half a dozen suppliers it deals with. But you get to a medium-sized business and you could have 50 or 60 third parties in there. And if any one of those is not meeting some basic cyber hygiene, they have the potential to infect your business.
So you're working in the cyberspace almost daily. What tell us a little bit about your role and the sort of things that you're doing to protect and support clients in terms of their, I don't know, do we call it a cyber journey?
It's an ongoing journey.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess daily I do a number of functions. Predominantly, I do a lot of cyber assessment work. So this is just going into a business and looking at a helicopter view of their business at all the key points related to cybersecurity and whether they've got the minimum level of policies and procedures in place, whether they've got the minimum level of configuration set correctly. Mm-hmm. And we produce a report out at the end of that, which then has basically some items they need to work on. Mm-hmm. And the importance of that is, at the end of the day, you can't protect what you don't know.
Right.
So you've got to know what your assets are. You've got to know what your points of failure, where your weak spots are, where your risk exposure is. And again, we see common themes across every business we do this on, from small to large. Some are better at it than others, yep. But essentially there's still a lot of very basic cyber hygiene that isn't in place.
I like that. Protect what you don't know, and I guess that's that knowledge piece, and getting someone independent that's got some expertise to tell you kind of where you're at, which also gives you a roadmap in terms of what you need to do to improve and perhaps where the best bang for buck is.
Oh, definitely. And we also do our cyber assessments are done against international cyber frameworks as well. So, if you're getting insurance companies in to get cyber insurance, for example, or other things, you've got a recognised global standard that you can say you're conforming to.
Yeah, because some of when we talk about insurance, some of the forms are pretty complicated, aren't they? So This must help with that process?
Oh, definitely. And in fact, if you've done one of our cyber assessments and then you do one of the self-assessments for the insurance forms, you'll be able to answer it directly off one of the assessments that we've done, because they basically provide all the information because they're against the same sort of standards.
That's great. And I think it's a really good place to start if you are, as we talk about that journey, if you don't really know what that next step is, or I'm not really sure, am I truly doing the right thing when it comes to cyber and protecting my business, getting that assessment done kind of gives you that, okay, I'm either, what level am I at, and where do I need to go?
Yeah, and it's important to have it ongoing as well. If you've got a bigger business and you've got a lot of change in your business through acquisitions or natural growth or change in systems, you need to have ongoing cyber assessments done, because you could have an assessment done 1 year and you're looking really good. You could implement a lot of change, which can impact some of the processes of the setup that you had in place previously and actually degrade that. So you can actually increase your risk.
So let's talk a little bit. I've got a few items here that I'm keen for you to talk through. We are talking 101 in terms of protecting or making your business more resilient. So some of the things you can do. So are your devices up to date? And I look at the moment around Windows 10 becoming into support. How important is that piece?
It's probably one of the most important parts of it. Hackers generally, if it's not social engineering or phishing, the way they get into your systems is through bugs in the operating system or bugs in an application like Word or Excel or a common application that people use. These bugs, they happen all the time, just as part of development. And if it's a bug that a hacker identifies before Microsoft or whoever the manufacturer of the software is can fix it, that's potentially a point of access into your business. So keeping your systems, your servers, your tablets, your workstations, all those things up to date is absolutely crucial.
And I think especially with the Windows 10 piece at the moment, I think it's probably one of the most critical.
Yeah, and I guess that highlights probably one big thing there. A lot of people saying, well, I don't need to buy a new laptop. I don't want to go to Windows 11. What are the risks? As soon as Windows 10 goes into life, there's no more development work, no more bug fixes put out. So your machine may continue to work, but
the risk is higher, isn't it?
Your risk is increasing every day because there's still bugs in the systems that the hackers will find eventually.
Multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication?
Must have.
Tell us what it is.
Multi-factor, I mean, everyone's got a bank account out there, and all banks now, if you log onto your bank account, you've got to use your multi-factor authentication. So it'll send you a code that you have to then verify through email or key it in, or if you've got a multi-factor authentication app, you can get your code off that. It changes all the time. So it's just saying, I've seen it on me, and I'm getting verification that it's me telling you that I'm me.
Yep. So checking the identity.
It is.
Yep.
So again, if someone out there pretends to be me, if they haven't got the two-factor authentication, they won't get in. Even if they've got my password, they still need that two-factor.
It's not foolproof though, is it?
No, nothing in this industry is foolproof, but it is as foolproof as it can be at the moment. So there are still methods that hackers can use to intercept the MFA process and get access to it. But that's more of it's not commonplace. It's becoming a lot more common. But with artificial intelligence on endpoint detection response systems and other tools out there, they're helping pick that up and stop it.
And it's a little bit, we'll go through a few others, but this is about having a multitude of tools or systems or processes that are almost layering the approach.
Yeah. So your security view on your business should be a layered view. You can't just lock your door and say, yep, that's my security, it's done. So you've got to have layers. So you've got to have things like your firewalls. You've got to have good password habits and management, things like password managers, endpoint protection, which is now the replacement for your old antivirus, because antivirus is a thing of the past, really. With the threats that are coming through, you need active real-time detection through to a whole lot of other layers, depending on what your infrastructure looks like in your business.
So I want to go back to one of the things you just said there was around passwords. What is a good password? So, password 123 obviously isn't a great password.
No.
But is it just about me having a couple of special characters and numbers, and is that okay?
It comes down to length. The longer your password, the more secure it is. So it's not necessarily about a lot of complexity. It's about having length. So pick a phrase, my cat loves dog food or something silly like that. It's long. For a hacker to be able to break that, it's not worth the effort. And that's what they'll do. These days, a lot of the tools that go out there and try and hack your business are artificial intelligence. They're going out, they're having a poke around, seeing what they can find. As soon as they get a real actual threat, then they'll get a criminal involved who'll start coming on and doing some work. If they can't break the passwords within a very short defined time, they'll move on, unless it's a high value asset that they really want to get access to.
So if I'm thinking about businesses, if you were to stipulate, I don't know, what's a good number? Is it 12?
The minimum these days is really 10 or 12 characters. 12? Yeah.
So implementing something with your IT provider that said all passwords have to be all at 10 or 12 in terms of length, that would be a great
good start.
Step in the right direction.
Yeah. The longer the better. And I mean, for every character you add on, it adds years to the time it takes AI to break that password.
Backups. I mean, that's at the other end of the process. I mean, you might have been hacked and then it's like, well, gee, all my data and where's it gone? And but it's vital that people have got good backups, isn't it?
Yeah. And backups is probably still an area that we see a lot of businesses think they've got good backups and don't. Some of that's just due to them handing it off to someone else to do and not actually getting validation that the backups have been done properly. Some businesses have very good ones. Probably the biggest risk around backup is if your backups are all on site, on your business premise.
Right.
You've got to have off-site copies of that data. Specifically, if you get a ransomware attack that locks out all your data on your systems, if you haven't got good air-gapped backups, and the backups are in the cloud or a copy's off-premise somewhere, the chances are your on-premise backups will get ransomware as well, and you'll have nothing to be able to recover from.
I think it's a really good point about the cloud, because we've moved a lot of our data, haven't we? We were, what we say, on premise, or everything was within our building quite often. And now most of us are using something, whether it be Google or Microsoft, but we're running tools and our files are in OneDrive or in SharePoint. We're kind of assuming that stuff's all being backed up, but quite often it's actually not being backed up, is it?
No, and that's the big challenge these days. The old days, you had a defined border of where your data was. You had a business, you had a physical doors, you could lock the infrastructure up, you had one firewall, and everything was on premise and it was nice and tidy. These days, it's a borderless environment. So you've got on premise, you've got data in various systems. If you've got HR in the cloud or payroll, you're going to have some company data in that. So it's very important that you, if you're looking at cloud-based systems, that you understand what the responsibilities of the cloud supplier are and what your own responsibilities are around backing up of that data. Some services will back it up as part of the service. Others, Microsoft, for example, make your data highly available, but they don't back it up. It's your responsibility to have your own separate backups should that data get corrupted or lost.
And there's definitely a chance that it can. It's not foolproof, is it?
Oh, no. Like I say, the Microsoft cloud is very available and it's very resilient. But if data gets corrupted, and that can be not necessarily because of a Microsoft issue, it could be a user error. They've deleted data, and that data will get deleted everywhere across the Microsoft environment. If you haven't got your own backups to go back to or some form of rollback, then you've lost that information.
You talked a little bit before around securing your devices, your endpoints, securing your network, and things like firewalls. And I think most of us know that the one thing I know, and I know you're hot on this because of a lot of the work you do, but how many small businesses actually have a plan when it comes to protecting their business from cyber? And do they know what they'll do should they get an event?
A lot of businesses think they have a plan, but when they actually have to explain what that plan is or put it into place, they realise they don't have a plan.
It's a little bit like COVID when it came. I mean, some of us did have pandemic plans, didn't we? But have we actually truly thought them through? And then of those, some of them just didn't really make sense. So how does a business go around creating that plan should they have an incident within their business?
Well, it's quite a straightforward process, and we can help with that process to lay it out. But it's really identifying what your incident response team looks like. And for a small business, that could only be one or two people. If you've got cyber insurance companies involved, you also have to have that accounted for. But it's really, what do you do when you have cyber incidents? And this could be from a very small one, like just a phishing email, through to ransomware. What do you do with your communications? Again, I've had discussions with legal people over this, and looking at the responsibilities of a cyber attack from the client's perspective, from their client's perspective, and from a third party's perspective. They've all got different views on who's legally liable for what. So it's quite important how you communicate what's happened and the timing of that, and also to what extent. So if your client's data has been compromised, you actually have to notify the people in the right timeframes, or you're opening yourself up for other issues and liabilities further down the track. So just thinking about simple things about who is the single point of communications, what are they communicating, how are they communicating it, who is the IT team? It might be partially in-house, it could be outsourced, notifying the government when you've had cyber breaches.
Do many people do that? Do we know? Oh, I guess we don't really know.
Quite a few do. They actually put out some stats on that, and the numbers are increasing because they will actually help with that process. It is getting to the point where it's going to be mandated that you have to do it as a business. So but it's just having that plan and knowing what to do. And as you work through that, you then think about, well, have I got the backups in place? How do I recover? How long is it going to take? What's the priority on the systems we want to restore? Do we need email back first? Or have we got a CRM system? Now, what's the priority of getting what back in what time frame?
I think it's always interesting. You sometimes don't think you need something until you haven't got it, and then you realise how vitally important it is, don't you?
And the sad, unfortunate part is that with cyber attacks the way they are these days, it's probably more prevalent out there than most businesses in New Zealand actually realise.
So just talking a little bit more about that, and we've talked a little bit about that incident response, or having a plan should something happen. The role of governance, and I say governance in a wider concept for business owners and their business. What advice would you have in terms of governance across your business in terms of cyber?
Well, again, if you go back a number of years, governance was seen to be a big business thing.
Boards
and everything else. But if you're in business in any size, you need to think about governance in one form or another. And it doesn't have to be overcomplicated, but you need to think again, especially if you've got staff, acceptable use policies, what you're allowing your staff to do or not do. Do they know what their responsibilities are around using your equipment, your systems, how to handle your client's data? So there's those sort of things there. Just having basic cyber policies in place, again, to protect the business and protect the staff. Having some plans around how you manage your infrastructure, and you may only be 2 PCs, a printer, and an internet connection, but again, you're online. Doesn't have to be complicated, but if you think about it and put some basic governance around that, it helps identify the areas that you need to do the work in.
Again, one of the other areas that's changed in the areas you talked about was we've probably all got staff that are using ChatGPT and are using the internet. And I think we'd be naive to think that they're not. And do we really know what's happening with our data, or who potentially they're giving access to that data?
Yeah, and AI is a biggie, as we know. It's got some pros and a lot of cons as well. It's a great tool for helping speed up the delivery of certain areas. AI has been built into so many aspects of the world these days. You don't even know it's in some applications and software, but tools like ChatGPT and Copilot and these other ones, you just got to be mindful. And again, we try and tell businesses to get a policy in place on how they want to allow their staff to use AI tools. Things like Grammarly and ChatGPT. And if you're going to use products like ChatGPT, make sure it's a licensed one, because it's where people get caught. They use the free ones. But as soon as you put any data into a free AI tool, it's publicly available everywhere. So again, you've got implications. If you're using client information or some financials or other intellectual property to put into these tools, if it's not a licensed version that keeps it contained, that data gets sprawled out publicly across the internet.
There's kind of two sides to all of this, isn't there? There's the internet been great for what we've been able to access, but some of the dangers that come with that. Similarly with AI and what comes with that. We do have to make sure we're balanced in our approach, don't we?
Oh, definitely. And like I say, AI are great tools for us as enablers to fight cybersecurity, but they've got their counterparts on the other side, which are attacking us. So,
seeing the opportunity.
Yeah, it is.
From a different perspective.
Yeah. It is. And it's happening so fast, that's the point. It's not humans now, it's AI, so they can do all this stuff just so much faster. And once the attack's identified, it can implement that attack a lot quicker as well.
So just as we look to wrap up, and you've covered a lot of ground, and it's been fantastic to get an insight into a range of different things we can do within our business. But if you were to say, what's the one thing a business owner or a leader within a business could do today to kind of increase their posture or help with cyber resilience, what would you say to them?
Well, it's one that's been pushed on for a couple of years, but we keep pushing it because it's still not being done, and that's multi-factor authentication. Right. There are not a lot of applications out these days that don't support it. It's pretty straightforward to set up. It is an extra step that you have to do to authenticate, but it just gets rid of so much risk. So that I definitely recommend that, followed by backups. You get backups.
And followed by.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good point. As we said it before, MFA or two-factor authentication isn't the be-all and end-all, but it's a really good tool to protect that identity piece, isn't it?
Yeah, it's effectively needing 2 keys to open your door instead of 1.
Yeah. Cybersecurity is, I don't know, some people say it's not the most sexy topic, and it's not a topic that people often want to talk about because it's about risk and potentially about losing a whole lot of things. But is there anything that excites you about cybersecurity and where it's going? And
it's a fascinating environment. I mean, I get a lot of enjoyment out of identifying issues in a business and helping that business actually put plans in place to remediate those and get rid of the risk. Yeah. It's exciting from the perspective of what we can do with artificial intelligence for the good of humanity, not the bad. Yeah. And just all these new tools that are coming out also made it a lot more accessible and cost effective for very small business to actually implement this. So, it may seem scary as an owner of maybe 2 or 3 staff and a couple of machines, but to actually put some decent tools and processes in place is not an expensive item to do these days, and to get some protection for you.
So that's episode 1 of our cybersecurity season, and I want to thank you, Stephen. Today, I think you really made it simplified what is quite a complicated and complex topic. So thank you for simplifying that for us and giving us some really easy tips that we can do within our business, because I think some of those things are easy. Some of those things don't need to cost a huge amount of money. Some of it's about just putting good passwords in, as you talked about, that are of a certain length, and I think we can all do that sort of thing. So thanks, Stephen, for your time today.
Thanks, Brendon.
That's episode 1. We've got 3 more episodes to bring to you over the coming weeks. Episode 2, we've got a business that shares their story on how they did have a cyber incident and how they've come through the other side of that, and what's been really important to ensure that they did come through that incident and continue to operate. Our 3rd episode talks more around the role that people play within our business. How do we build a cyber resilient culture within our business? And I'm really excited also about the 4th episode, where we talk to a couple of global experts who tell us what's really happening in the cybersecurity and cyber resilience space, and what should we be looking out for, because they're seeing it globally and it will continue to come at us at a great rate of knots. Remember to listen to us on YouTube or Spotify, or have a look at the Focus Technology Group website. I'm Brendon McDermott, and this is the Digital Rose Podcast.